This is BBC Radio 4.
BBC News at 3 o'clock. Mrs Thatcher is about to enter the Commons to face MPs after her announcement this morning that she is to resign as Prime Minister. She'll appear at the dispatch box for Prime Minister's questions, and she'll then respond to the motion of no confidence tabled by Labour. In her statement this morning, Mrs Thatcher said she would be stepping down as Prime Minister as soon as the Conservatives had chosen a new leader. She said she was withdrawing from the second ballot to be held next Tuesday. The contest will now be between Mr Michael Heseltine and the two cabinet members who nominated Mrs Thatcher in the first round, the Foreign Secretary, Mr Douglas Hurd, and the Chancellor, Mr John Major. Mr Hurd said the overriding need now was to find a leader who could unite the Conservative Party, and he believed that he could do that. Mr Major said that he too wanted to unite the party, and he wanted to build on the achievements of Mrs Thatcher, whom he described as a very great Prime Minister. Mr Heseltine was quick to pay his own tribute to Mrs Thatcher. He said she had made a remarkable contribution to Britain's history and had led the country with great distinction in the 1980s. The opposition leader, Mr Neil Kinnock, described the resignation as good news indeed. He said he was very pleased for the country and it was time now for a general election. For the Liberal Democrats, Mr Paddy Ashdown said Mrs Thatcher had taken the correct decision for her own reputation, for the unity of her party and for the good of the country. A short time ago, the Prime Minister's daughter, Miss Carol Thatcher, said those who'd pressed her mother into resigning were guilty of what she called the most gutless act of treachery. Other headlines this afternoon. The 10-year-old British girl kidnapped in Portugal, Rachel Charles, has been found dead. 4 fishermen are missing in the Firth of Clyde after a Royal Navy submarine became entangled in the nets of a trawler. Police investigating football hooliganism have arrested 30 men in a series of raids across Britain. BBC Radio News.